Hots.
Oh, at least.
I'm resident of Colorwood for YouTube, Joel Sains. That's my buddy Gordon Dymowski. That's my buddy Alan Gallant. That's my buddy Patrick McCray. We're here to
You're
talk.
a martyr, Jewel. You're a martyr. You're a martyr.
I'm a
to
jackass.
podcasting for putting up with us.
Nails to the cross, man. Nails to the cross.
Oh my God, I'm going to go to hell. We're here to review the movie, The Big Red One, and it's a really good movie. I love the cinematography in this. Here's something I want to talk about with you guys because there's a lot of things to get to. Rewatching this after how many years of watching it since I was a kid, Mark Hamill. It's nice to see somebody who took a risk early on in their career. To me, in my opinion, I like because this is not Luke Skywalker he's playing. He's playing a very. And you hear about this in the Army. My grandfather talked about this, and because he was in World War II as a tank driver, how sometimes soldiers would not shoot at somebody unless they were shot at themselves. Though Mark Hamill finally does shoot towards the end of this movie, I really like that he takes a risk in playing this character here. I love Lee Marvin has been in Army movies. I love Lee Marvin in this movie. It's really fun to see him. What did you guys think, Gordon?
Well, I thought it was a very challenging role because the whole point of the movie is about these four, kind of four soldiers and their leader who are doing everything to survive. And the movie kind of very in the beginning, there's two scenes that there's two quotes, one by Lee Marvin, one by the German, that kind of it's Fuller saying, here's the theme of the movie. Marvin's is, we don't murder animals, we kill them. The Germans is, we don't murder the enemy, we kill them. Mm-hmm. And I think for Hamill, from that first scene where he kind of freezes, it's his kind of getting back into the idea that he's got to figure out how to get through this. He does not want to, and we don't know how long he's been in combat. These are not fresh off the boat people. So I think for him to act this, and also by this time, I think he was either heading into or may have finished Empire Strikes Back. So he was still doing Star Wars, but he wasn't the overused word icon that he is now.
Right.
But I think it is I think all four of them are very challenging roles. I mean, I think Robert Carradine does the best Samuel Fuller impersonation in that's ever been.
Alan?
Have you ever seen Sam's daughter? She shows up on Making of stuff. No, I'm not making this up.
Yeah.
She shows up on Making of stuff. She is the spitting image down to the cigar. I'm not exaggerating.
Yeah.
She is one tough hombre.
Lee Marvin is obviously the anchor of this. He was probably a first hire. I don't think that they had anybody else in mind for his character. They may have, but it sure doesn't feel that way. It feels like, here's the casting. There you go. The rest of these guys are up and comers. They've all established themselves in a movie or two, but they're still up and comers at this point. It's almost pre-Brat Pack here, guys. They're young, and which is perfect for this movie. They all are creating very distinct characters. So they do. I mean, they're not just faces. They're good actors. The casting was done with that in mind, I think, because of the challenges of the story. These characters all go through a lot of different things. There's everything from soup to nuts in terms of the tone in all the various scenes. There's some kind of humorous scenes as well as some incredibly dramatic, serious scenes, either internal reflections or having to make a decision quickly. And you mentioned Hamill's character not being able to use his weapon unless, he's being basically shot at. And even then, he sort of hesitates. But you find out that he's not a coward. That's not the issue with him. He doesn't want to have to kill anybody. And then his character sort of comes to a darker sort of arc at the end of it when they go into that awful place and he discovers that soldier inside one of the ovens. That's when it kind of breaks at that point. But even then, he doesn't shoot first. The guy, his machine gun is either jammed or he's out of ammunition. So he just stares at the guy, and the guy attempts to kill him, and then he snaps. So it's a complex sort of thing. All these characters have their complexities, which I really appreciated. One of the great things that I appreciated technically is we're going into 80s film stock. We're coming out of 70s film stock, which works really well with certain things, but also tends with time to look like Los Angeles television shows, a lot of it. And the 80s film stock, to a great degree, the color seems to be truer, especially in this movie. Everything is true. When they show the beachhead and the ocean and all of that sort of thing, it's vivid. It's really breathtaking before they go into the actual, or after all of this battle stuff has happened. Of course, with lighting and so on and mood, you get all sorts of different hues, but the hues seem to be just truer than the 70s film stock of just a few years before. So that's interesting to me to see that textural difference.
Patrick?
Yes. What's the question?
What did you think of Mark Hamill's performance here?
He's real good.
Yeah.
He's great. Now I'm not certain, but I think they shot this quite a ways before the movie was released. So I think he did this between Star Wars and Empire. Even
that would make sense.
I think Empire had come out. I remember seeing trailers for this in the theater. And Mark Hamill was the big deal, when it was mentioned. But Mark's face seems to still be the pre-accident face, because he had a lot of reconstruction. Yeah. And that's why he gets attacked by the Wampa, is to sort of explain that at the beginning of Empire, because he gets his face reconstructed in that. So, and they did a great job, but he does look different.
A little bit different.
And this is internally, I think, very much where Mark is going from being the pretty boy to a much more rugged figure, which he still is trading on to this day. Harrowing is the word that I can use to describe, especially that concentration camp sequence, and Marvin's. It's amazing the challenges that Lee Marvin has to take on in acting this, specifically with Hamill, when he has to shoot at him, and yet it's not personal.
Yeah. Right.
Wow. And then what does he say at the end? He says, "I think you got him." I think that's how he caps that, which could be a really sarcastic, condescending line, and it's not.
No. The thing about Marvin is he had actual World War II combat experience.
And he's in an early Sam Fuller World War II movie, The Steel Helmet. I'm pretty certain. I think it's The Steel Helmet. And Marvin had that. Of course, Marvin looked like this. He was younger than we think when he made this movie.
He always had affect and old, sort of rugged-looking face. And
I mean, I think he looked like this when he was 11.
Well, the booze didn't help.
Boy, it
No,
sure didn't.
it didn't, especially in the last 20 years of his life. It definitely contributed to that cragginess, I'm sure.
And of course, it was a break from sort of the flamboyant, sort of effeminate roles that he was known for in the American version of La Cage aux Folles. You know, he and Lauren Green trying to see who could be more outrageous at Pride Week.
That would be
And
awesome film.
can you imagine?
Yeah, you need to track that down.
And instead of
Joel.
taking off a woman's wig for I Am What I Am, Lauren Green would just take off his toupee.
His toupee.
Bald pate.
And they would trade parts. And Lee Marvin would find an audience member who was talking too much during the show and scalp them and put their hair on.
The guy's got to put his reputation somehow. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some good production notes here. Warner Brothers was interested in filming The Big Red One in the late 1950s, sending Fuller on a trip to Europe to scout locations. Fuller directed Merrill's Marauders as a dry run for the film. When Fuller argued with Jack L. Warner and his studio over cuts they made to Merrill's Marauders, the plans for Big Red One were dropped. In the project early stages, at Jack L. Warner's urging, he wanted John Wayne. Well, John Wayne was lined up to play the sergeant, which isn't shocking. So Peter Bogdanovich helped set up the filming at Paramount Pictures, which paid Fuller to write a script when Paramount. Frank Yablans left the studio, though the project was put in turnaround. It shifted over to Lorimer with Bogdanovich to produce. He says Fuller wanted him to play the Robert Carradine part, but then Bogdanovich pulled out and brought in Gene Corman to produce. So there's that from a production standpoint.
The Lorimer was a production company of the guy that created and wrote The Waltons.
Yeah. What did you? I really love how they filmed this. Everything looks so real, which I love. I love how
it's a very stylized form of shooting, though. I mean, it's an art film in a lot of places.
Mm-hmm.
You know, coming back to certain visual motifs, the Christ, the wristwatch in the D-Day sequence. And the old one, something I noticed this time that's like straight out of Bergman is the old women with the scythes that I think they're using to chop up a Nazi, if I'm not mistaken.
At the end, it's pretty much inferred that that's what they're doing without having to even tell it. So
I think it's part of Fuller's style, because like when you see movies like Shot Corridor or The Naked Kiss, you can tell that he's got that energy that he's just throwing out there. I mean, there's still thought behind it, but it's just throwing it out there. We're here because he's older and because this is a more personal story for him in many ways. There's a very deliberate, he's channeling that energy in a very strategic manner.
Yeah, there's one shot he uses that's almost like 40s film noir style, and that's the telescoping shot where the staccato goes in, closer and closer.
Yeah.
Like that. That's a classical shot.
Mm-hmm.
So.
It's a good movie. I really prefer this to Saving Private Ryan. They're very similar in a lot of ways. Saving Private Ryan has a bigger budget and is longer, but of course this movie was originally longer and it got cut up and only recently was re-released. You can find The Big Red One, the reconstruction, on DVD if you look around, and it's a hell of a good movie too. I consider it a separate film, you know. This is very good.
In you guys' opinion, what is Lee Marvin's best movie? Is it this?
That's tough.
You could do worse.
You could do a lot worse than this one.
Yeah,
I think the only one that the only one that compares for me is Point Blank.
Yeah, that's a good movie.
But you've got Liberty Valance.
What about you, Joel? What do you think?
You've got The Dirty Dozen. You've got a ton of films in which he makes a huge impact in.
I'm going to say this one. because this feels like, to me, for his career, Lee Marvin came in, because I was looking at his IMDb page, he came in a little late to film, in my opinion. And he did a really good job getting roles. And the first thing I obviously saw him was The Dirty Dozen. I think everybody has seen The Dirty Dozen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's one of those films that is on TV a lot.
He's
And
also
that's-
the Wild One, though.
Yeah.
In the Wild One, he plays a biker in the Wild One, so he
Yeah,
goes back
he-
a ways.
Yeah, and
And-
he's also co-stars with Clint Eastwood in Paint Your Wagon, which is
Yeah.
a Western I think you should watch, Joel.
I've seen it. He sings in that. Yeah, I've seen it.
That's not the part that's good, though.
He does. If you ever want to imitate Josh Logan choreography, you just stand and stomp with your legs
right.
coming up real high.
Now, my favorite Lee Marvin movie is The Professionals with him and Burt Lancaster. That's a fun movie, which I covered with Butch on our Westerns.
He
This-
originally, in the opening cut, he got let go about 5 weeks into shooting, which is quite a while. But he played
Yeah.
Maude in Harold and Maude, and then Ruth Gordon took over, and because they wanted somebody tougher and more grizzled.
That's right.
That's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. He was also had a prominent role in A Chorus Line. And
He
he
and
and Bob
Attenborough
Fosse,
were
I
tight.
hear, were pals. So
He refused to wear the man bun. You know, he had to have the free flowing hair. So
And he did. This is the shortest hairstyle he ever used. We were used to him with those long Jan Michael Vincent locks
that's right.
that he was famous for.
He drank like Jan Michael Vincent too. So
Well, something you ever notice about Lee Marvin, there's times in movies when he's drinking, he'll have his pinky up. You ever notice that?
Well, he's very refined.
yes,
It's just a fun thing.
well, I think
that's the
probably because
penetration thing.
because trying to get your middle finger up as you're drinking is a very tough skill indeed.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I really like how Lee Marvin puts like there's like rags on his head and he like walks through the desert because hey, we have some desert porn in this movie, which is fucking fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Not just once, but there's other times too.
You know, there's
They shot it
there's
in
a whole
Israel.
yeah. You know, there's a whole website if you like desert porn, Jewel.
Is there?
I it's called Pornhub. Just type in desert porn and there
Right.
you go.
Yeah,
There's one called Dry as My Bone that I think you would enjoy.
I like Sand in the Cracks. Actually, that's a good one.
And
Oh my god. What did you guys think of the war sequences we got in this movie?
Pretty classic.
they're
Yeah.
terrific. I mean, this is before Saving Private Ryan and Gladiator really kind of rewrote how those things would be shot and edited to basically just taking the footage into a blender and
Yeah.
throwing it around with an average shot length of about 5 milliseconds. So it's very old school in a way, and it lets you. It is less chaotic, but here's the funny thing: is that we talk about how chaotic these things were, but one of the things First Infantry was trained for is to not think of it as chaotic, to still maintain their common sense as all this stuff's going on, and Fuller shot this the way he perceived those sequences as being.
Yeah. Gordon?
Yeah, I think there's a realism and a dynamism. It feels almost documentary like. I mean, I have to come clean. I'm not a big fan of war movies. I grew up with a dad who absolutely fetishized World War II. Even to the point that I actually found some after he passed. I found some Nazi coins in his collection. And a grandfather who actually served in World War II. I actually had two grandfathers. My dad's father was infantry, and he served in roughly Persia, the Middle East, that area. And so Dad would want to watch more movie, and a lot of it is just kind of that gung ho. Yeah, we're going to kick the Germans' ass. Da 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 da. This is one where it's. And me, I'm not taking. I am not making fun of this. It shows war as sloppy, as chaotic. That it is, the people who are doing it. I mean, one of the scenes that comes to mind is where the guy is calling the Italian guy a slur. The Italian guy just shoves his rifle into his mouth and starts singing "Oh Sole
Mio."
Mio."
Yeah.
I mean,
I
it
like
kind
O
of
Sole
shows
Mio.
that. Yeah, it doesn't feel like a traditional like, yeah, I'm the tough sergeant and here are my recruits and we're gonna win this. It's very much a. I mean, I go back to Robert Carradine doing Sam Fuller, but I don't think it's just his memory. I think he's trying. The reason he did that was to provide some kind of, grounding into this is what war is like, and I have been there.
I was there. I was there. Yeah. The word I don't know if I use sloppy, although that's a fine word to use for this. The word that comes to my mind is improvised.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of improv. I mean, down to talking about the condoms at the beginning of the movie. The guy invented these, never thought they'd be used like this, and just the rough and ready improvisation, having to construct that weapon on the beach.
Yeah.
And it was Zab. Is Zab the Carradine? Or yeah,
Yes, Zab is Carradine.
yeah. As I'd like to meet someday I'd like to meet the asshole who designed this.
Mm-hmm.
For those who are wondering what we're talking about, Fuller was a World War II veteran and served with the 1st Infantry Division, which was nicknamed the Big Red One, for the red number 1 on the division's shoulder patch. He received the Silver Star, Bronze Star, and Purple Heart during his service. He was present at the liberation of the Faulkner concentration camp. Sorry if I mispronounced that. But,
That's okay.
yeah, that's amazing. It does really give. I think he's being very true here to himself. I mean, in every way. I mean, at least trying to be. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're,
I mean,
you're,
this is. I'm sorry, Joe.
no, go ahead.
No, it's just this is made by somebody who was there,
Right.
and that is just this remarkable use of filmmaking, I think, and it kind of dissuades me from seeing, war movies not made by people who were there.
Band of Brothers is another good. That's a great miniseries in terms. It was not made by people that were there, but it was made with the assistance of people that were there. Easy Company, surviving members of Easy Company.
Didn't Tom Hanks produce that?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah, he's
But-
really a force for good. That guy. I mean, he really is. Just common sense and honoring things that need to be honored. I mean, his series From the Earth to the Moon is another just jaw-dropping tribute to human intelligence and bravery.
Mm-hmm. It is. You're right. I think that's that series has some really good combat sequences and some good psychological sort of
Band of Brothers.
Band of Brothers, and it also has the best or the best and the worst scenes of liberation of death camps. It's talk about harrowing. The way that they develop it in Band of Brothers is incredible. It's absolutely incredible. It's kind of a surprise. They come upon it and it's gradual for the audience. And it's kind of the same way in Band of Brothers. It's gradual for the audience, and all of a sudden you see the gate in Band of Brothers, and you know immediately what's happening. In this one, it's kind of it's vague for a while, and then oh shit. And from the character's point of view, it's like he opens the oven, what's this? And he sees what's inside. So
Yeah. I remember in school being shown pictures of concentration camp survivors and how skinny and frail they were.
Mhm.
And the documentary we got shown there too, the one guy who was a doctor, he said it was so hard to tell the living from the dead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
oh boy, and the sequences in this with the kids,
yeah.
you know, and the boy who is just wants to get his mother a casket, and you know, sort of juxtaposing that with the boy who dies and just how grateful they are
Mm-hmm.
for Lee Marvin's character, and that you know, their love goes way beyond any sort of formality. And you know, feeding the kid, which was the worst thing you could do. You know, other than some sort of, you know, medical grade pablum or something.
Yeah.
Oof, wow.
Yeah.
And it doesn't bother to explain that, you know,
But-
really
but-
heavily.
You don't
I like
need
that.
to, I guess. It's
Yeah.
the impact of the fact that, you know, the sudden realization, oh Jesus, I just, you know, I was just trying to help the kid.
I just killed this kid.
Yeah.
Wow. Oof.
I think
Oh man.
I think it's a smart move that the director is just trying to tell the story without inferring, you know what I mean? Like without
Yeah.
commentating it too much.
Yeah, not a lot of broad explanations are needed.
Right.
You know-
and are given. So
Gordon, I don't really like war movies either. I'm not a big fan, but I love this film because
Yeah, I mean-
it transcends being a war movie, and it is just as meditative and philosophical as it is a movie about combat. It would be interesting to, you know, get a stopwatch and compare how much battle there is to how much sort of meditation on just surviving and funny stuff. It's also a very funny movie
Mm-hmm.
on purpose. I mean, these are witty guys,
yes.
Mm-hmm.
and they have to be. And the, you know, we were talking about the ages of them. And in World War II terms, these guys were old men.
Yeah.
You know, because they were all in their mid to late 20s, I think. And that was ancient. It was wizened. You know, in considering how fast people die. You know, when they're constructing the weapon on the beach, and he keeps calling out the numbers, and he knows that they're going to get killed, but it will get them incrementally closer, and they know they're going to get killed. And you know, there's discussion before with Limchek, uh, and you know, but I don't like this number. Well, yeah, there's a reason.
Yep.
Mhm. Yeah, talking about what was it, the life insurance or medical insurance policy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, will you trade me? Mark Hamill's character makes a joke about, isn't your mother on your life insurance policy?
He's great. He really roasts him.
Yeah. Yes, he does. Lee Marvin's character, though he stars in it, really, him and Hamill do a really great job. I love Marvin does tend to steal a lot of movies at times, and he really takes command of this one. I just enjoy his performance throughout the movie and how they are sniping us, trying to lure out the sniper, and Marvin's character has to throw a grenade. He goes, "You were standing there the whole time." He talks to the other guy. He's like, "Yeah, I just wanted to make you sweat." Just great scenes.
You know, and the tension,
Yeah.
the tension in the movie, the tank sequence, not when she's giving birth, although that's tense in its own way.
Later.
But when you know that they're surrounded by Nazis who could just pop up and kill them at any point, and then it's clear Marvin's aware of it also.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is why he liberates the tank by killing the 3 men that are inside
That's
it, because he knows he's probably going to have to use that tank in order to get out of there alive. So yeah, that's and the birthing is tense, but it's also hilarious because he's sticking condoms on his fingers and he insists on having a mask on, and Marvin's going, "What do you want a mask for? This place is filthy," you know, all this sort of thing.
We're in a tank.
Yeah, we're in a damn tank, but he goes ahead and he uses the cheesecloth and he ties it around his face, and you know it's kind of ridiculous as a
It's
juxtaposition.
improvised though.
Yeah.
Yeah. childbirth is a scary thing for sure.
Mhm.
And
Jewel,
then-
what would you do with a big frozen bug?
listen, I was there for both my kids. I was south of the border, so
Well, that's where the birth was taking place. I mean, that's what it's referred to
That's-
sometimes. It's
Yeah,
not
but-
coming out her
but
mouth.
Jewel-
Took your
But
wife
you-
to the to south of the border, the tourist trap in the Carolinas.
Minnesota,
Yeah, you'll
South
notice
Dakota.
that Jewel answered Patrick's question about a big frozen bum with talking about south of the border. I'm just going to leave that there.
Okay, yeah.
God.
Frosty.
I remember when my son, he actually shot out my wife. And
Squirted. Yeah.
No, it was because he was past his due date, and it was something else. I
Right.
remember-
Now, your wife wasn't shaken up before that happened, right? You didn't shake her and then he shot out.
No, Julie was.
Compressed gas or something.
And this was our second kid. Logan's our baby, and Julie was a rock for delivering both kids. I mean,
I gotta say, anybody who gives birth deserves a hell of a lot of kudos, not just for helping keep the human race around, but just the incredible nature is so mean that it should be easier. How did this happen? Evolution goofed up there.
and that's the thing. Like the one
Just
thing,
saying.
my wife always picks on movies when there's childbirth because babies don't come out that clean.
Mhm.
They don't come out that clean.
So it's-
Yeah, so, but this movie is really, really great. Just from a cinematography standpoint and acting standpoint, what's you guys' favorite scene in this movie?
Oh wow! There's so many.
I
I think when the kid dies and Lee Marvin just keeps the kid with him.
know.
Yeah, I would say that as well.
It's breathtaking. I mean, it genuinely is, and you have to have an actor with the sort of grizzled toughness of Lee Marvin,
Mm.
who's not going to betray a lot of emotion to let you know how intense that emotion really is. It's one of those Zen koans of acting.
You let the eyes do all the work. In a situation.
Yeah.
I think for the sheer pathos of that scene, the emotional impact of it, I would typically agree. In terms of tension building, the pile of Nazis around the tank was pretty tension building. Yeah.
But then, I like the big celebrations in the movie too, because it feels like we've earned them.
Yeah.
The
Mhm.
two
Stay
big
in
parties that are in the film just are such a relief. God,
Mm.
there's such a relief in this.
My favorite scene is when Marvin's character is in the hospital and all hell breaks loose. He gets out,
Yeah.
wraps himself up and walks across the fucking desert to catch his men.
Because he's Lee Marvin.
He's
Yeah.
I get it. I get it.
I love the line that he says in there when the guy's telling him that they've taken Tunis, and he says, "This is Tunis," and then boom, they start taking Tunis. It's
Yeah.
Oh, the asylum sequence. Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that woman, she was amazing in that sequence.
Oh, the extras in this movie are so fantastically authentic,
Mhm.
down to the emaciation of the children.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just right on the money. Geez.
I like how too the French start shooting at them, and then the French shoot at each other. And then they're like, "We
They're
surrender,
French.
we surrender," and they're like, "You don't know. We don't accept your surrender. We're here to fight the Germans with you." Come on.
I mean, that
Yeah,
whole scene starts with a Frenchman saying to another Frenchman, "We're not ready for this. Why are we doing this? Essentially, we're lousy at this sort of
They're
thing."
supposed to be eating cheese and writing poetry and stuff, and
Yeah,
painting
in fact,
water lilies.
in fact, a popular phrase to describe French people were cheese-eating surrender monkeys. That's the actual truth. You'll look it up. Look it up. Go on Wikipedia.
Yeah, I mean, just think about LeBeau in Hogan's Heroes, which is
That's
my
right.
favorite World War II documentary.
Oh, but,
Or the documentary that came after it called Autofocus.
yeah, we reviewed that on this channel.
Yikes.
We reviewed that on this
That's a
channel.
heartwarming movie.
It is. So,
You learn a lot about photography in that movie.
Yes, photography and naked women.
That's why you need a tripod made of foam rubber.
and covered with condoms.
Oh my
Lens
God.
test.
That's art. You could get an NEA grant for that.
Yeah, Joe, you could do that and earn money becoming a performance artist.
I don't think so.
I mean, you've got hours of podcast, YouTube podcasts to kind of back you up.
Mhm.
My God. What do you guys
Should they have made a should they have made a sequel to this called The Bigger Red One?
Oh,
I'm just asking.
I think that's the porn parody version.
The Bigger Red One, yeah.
Oh my God. What do you guys give this?
Oh, it's on a scale of 1 to 10, it's an 11.
yeah. It's
It's
It's a 15 out of 10.
Yeah, I mean, but it really is
highest
a
marks.
great movie. It's really life affirming in the midst of something that should not be. It's yeah, and it has the bravery to have kind of an insensitive sign off, sort of, but a true one.
Mhm.
That this is dedicated to the guys who actually survived.
Right.
Rather than this is for all the boys who didn't come back and couldn't watch this right now. I mean, that's how most movies, I think, probably not written by people who were there, would go. And there's no derision that exists in that. It's not like Trump calling POWs losers.
No, it is not
What a piece of work. But it is gutsy to say, yeah, I did survive. I'm not going to apologize for it. And
well, it's resilience is in survival, and I think that this movie underscores that. These characters are resilient.
yeah, and haunted by their luck, just being blessed by statistics.
Right.
I mean, yeah, they do know how to sort of be in the right place at the right time, but no one's really in the right place at the right time on a battlefield.
Right.
And the idea, called the Four Horsemen, that no matter what, they're kind of cursed to survive and to bear witness to such a incredible loss of human life, including of their friends, that they don't even bother to learn their names. Wow.
Yeah, they refer several times to the replacements.
Yeah, I think Marvin even calls them "What's your name?" at one point.
Yeah.
Son, what's his name over there? And they know who.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. It's a great movie. Definitely plus 10 in that sum. So.
Joel, have you seen any of Sam Fuller's other movies?
No, I've only seen this.
You would really like them, especially Naked Kiss, Shot Corridor, Steel Helmet. You would like all of those. They are noir beyond noir.
I'll have to check them out. This one I saw as a kid, though. So, guys, is there anything you want to add before we go?
Where are we going?
See the movie.
Yeah.
Is that Mrs. Sames?
Yeah.
Is that? Hello, Julie. We miss you. You're the real hero of this.
Mm-hmm.
They miss you.
I missed you. Hi, you're the real hero.
I know, right?
It's true. We miss you.
You have
I like
the
your guest
highest
appearances.
maintenance job of all. So
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. We miss you though.
I'm still here.
Okay.
A good thing for Jules that you are.
Yes, yes, it is. Yes, it is. I
He's
would
a
be
lucky
lost
man.
without
He
my.
really is.
I would be lost without her. Um,
Yeah, Logan would remind you every day.
yes, he would. Yes, he would. For sure. Yeah, this is a great movie. Links to Howling Galen's YouTube channel is going to be in the description box. Colin's Port After Dark. Links to Patrick McCray's Dark Shadows Daybook and Dark Shadows Daybook Abound is going to be in there. Link to Gordon Dymowski's Amazon page. Patrick, I'll see you tomorrow for Halloween, buddy.
Okay. Is that tomorrow? Is today Thursday?
No, oh no. Friday, sorry. Friday.
What are you doing tomorrow, Jewel?
Nothing so
Same
far.
thing we do every day, Patrick. Try to take over the world.
Mm-hmm. First we
Oh,
take
that's
Manhattan,
true.
then we
That's
take
true.
Berlin. So
I'll take Manhattan. Well, I don't know. Jewel, you wanna
I'll
watch
take
something?
Manhattan with a side order of French fries.
You know what? How about we cover a little movie called Swamp Thing? How's that?
Jewel, on that one, I'll take a pass. And I always found Swamp Thing depressing.
Yeah.
It really depresses me. I appreciate the suggestion, and I don't mean to be Dr. No. That's just not one that has grabs me the way it should, and I feel guilty about that. Because Ray
No.
Wise, as I'm happy to say, was my first acting teacher, right around the time that he did this.
Bobby
mhm.
Wise. Yeah, really good director. What's something we haven't covered? We covered Superman, didn't we?
Superman the movie?
Yeah, didn't we?
I don't care. I love that movie. I deeply love that movie. I'm happy to talk about that.
Superman the movie.
All right, so
It's
yeah, tomorrow.
it's an astounding film.
Of
Oh
course.
yeah, for sure. So tomorrow we'll cover Christopher Reeve starring
You will
Superman.
believe a jewel can fly.
And you'll learn what Jules' kryptonite is.
Yeah, my kryptonite is all the nude photos I send to Gordon. Anyway, have a good night.
If he takes in his Fortress of Solitude, yeah.
Oh shit! No, I'm kidding.
So, but enough short subjects.
Yeah, guys, I'll see you tomorrow night for Superman. Have a good one.
Okay.